Please do not swear. We are live on the air. Tell me why I didn't like Mondays, but tell me, we actually love Mondays here on ACSOM because it's a Monday club, and we've got a new voice joining us today for a game of dominoes, man. The man who is the wordsmith of ACSOM, when he speaks, the word sing. He's a Aretha Franklin at ACSOM, I would say. So it's Mr. Anthony Haggerty. You're right, Anthony, what's happening?
What an intro that is. I think I would maybe quote William Wordsworth and say most of the time I wander lonely as a clown. As opposed to right? So, yeah. I've just opened my mouth and shattered any illusion that people have.
Welcome along to the Monday Club, Anthony. Good to have you with us, mate.
The Monday Club. I even donned a tracksuit in your honour. You know what
I mean? I know. I'm feeling completely left out of tracky wars that are happening up above. And as usual, like not to be outdone on a Monday, we have the Adidas tracky wearing Rod Stewart lookalike available for christenings and bar mitzvahs and communions. Russell Boyce. Russell, what's going on, man? What's going on today?
How we doing, man? It was another sombre day in what has been a shambolic season. It's tragic, that how confident I was going into the game, and I maybe didn't air it much on the old ACSOM, but deep down I was very, very confident that we would win yesterday. The first half went totally against that, although I still think we created opportunities. I thought there was still wee moments we could take for the game where you thought, do you know what, even when we're playing rubbish, we still on another day could have scored, and it changed the outlook of the match. I then thought the second half, for all the moaning that we're going to do throughout the show about certain players who, whether they want to be there, whether they don't want to be there, for me, I'm looking at the ones that didn't perform and going, well, you're going to be gone anyway, so I'm not really that. I'm eased about that, and I did feel that for as much as Rangers are ahead, it's a case of working out and balancing out whether they were in full throttle in the second half, or whether because they were 2-0 they were taking it easy, or whether the gap's not as big considering the damage that we've done this season. We've got an interim manager in charge. We've got so many lone players or players that are heading for the exit, and so many out of form. It's unbelievable. Yet still that second half, we could have scored 2 goals easy days on another day. Obviously we didn't, and like I said on the pod, what really a couple of weeks ago about the killer instinct, that I don't know what it is, man. The eye of the tiger, or just that ruthlessness when you get an opportunity. I thought Rangers had that again yesterday, and we didn't. I think when they get 5 chances, they'll take 2 of them against us. We get 5 chances, we need 10 to get a goal. Do you know what I mean? And that really is. That's been sort of the story under John Kennedy, bar the Livingston match. I actually have to think, if you were to collate their number, I don't know what we're up to now with shots on target that we've no scored from. It's actually surreal, and that certainly needs addressed. And I just want to say, for all that Edouard's done good at this club, I've got to say I thought his technique attempt, or whatever it was he was trying to do with that finish, to me should, that just, for me, just summed that this guy's head's not in Celtic remotely anywhere near it should be. I just think that was an individual moment as opposed to a Celtic moment. And that time we were desperate for a goal, not to see a flick go in the top corner. We needed the net just to be hit, whether it's a scuff, whether it's whatever. But the one thing he had to do was try and put his foot through that ball. And where he's pulled that technique from at that point in time tells me more than ever that man is already now 99% out that door, both mentally and now actually it's happening. It's creeping onto the pitch even more than it did before. I was really disappointed with that, but not to just pinpoint him. I think we need to look at the season as a whole and say we've not been good enough. In so many occasions, yes, there's been upheaval. Yes, there's been unparalleled situations that have occurred via COVID and things like that. But the facts of the matter is the team across the city have been better than us, and they've got the edge right now, and they know how to get the job done. Celtic right now need 100 questions they need to ask before they can find the answer. And it was a bit deflating that way, but I don't think we're down and out by a long shot come next summer. I think once the summer upheaval happens, I think good things can come.
Want to know something, Russell? You actually says that we've got 100 questions. I think we've got 99 problems, but the fans are not one, to quote the famous Jay-Z there, like I was doing it at the studio yesterday, and it was good to go down to the studio because I didn't need to have a look at my cooting, which is completely freaking me out today because I can actually see how ugly I'm at. But like usually after a big game defeat or any defeat in truth, I find myself going to the Spice of Life for some like takeaway comfort eating to help me through the night. Usually I like a kebab pakora or some like a big chicken tikka hoagie or something like that. But see, yesterday after leaving the studio, I didn't feel like the team were worth increasing my chance of a heart attack. So I went home and had a baked tatty instead. So Tony, you were part of the Magnificent Seven yesterday. Now you've had 24 hours to think about it. What's your thoughts today?
Right, okay. I thought of one thing and one thing only, right? That quote by Jock Stein, that Celtic jerseys are not for second best and they don't shrink to fit inferior players, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, on the part this season, Celtic have been gutless, spineless, passionless, Russell alluded to, players' heads elsewhere, no fight, no stomach, been a bit joyless, totally and utterly soulless, and at this minute in time we're managerless and we're aimless and we look a bit lost, right? We see as much as we've been saying all that and aiming all that at the players, you've got to label those criticism at those at the top as well, surely, and I'm going to spin this quote around. The Celtic boardroom is not for second best. The boardroom table should not shrink to fit interior members. I'll say that again. The Celtic boardroom is not for second best. The boardroom table should not shrink to fit interior members.
Just in case Don Mackay didn't hear it the first time.
Right, correct. The board are falling asleep at the wheel. It's a spectacular case of gross mismanagement. We fired all the warning shots over the bow. It's bordering on criminal negligence, isn't it? You just said there 99 problems, but the supporters ain't one. That's the greatest success in the history of Celtic Football Club. It's the supporters. Decent, honest, hard-working people who hand over a hard-earned cash year in, year out. We like winning. We like the glory of winning. We like the honour and the prestige of winning. But you know what we never do? We never take it for granted. Success comes to the fact that the supporters are united by the one common goal, and that's we care deeply and passionately about Celtic Football Club. Right? Where success isn't measured in a customer base. It's not measured in a balance sheet, and it's not measured in paying a rich dividend to a shareholder or the largest shareholders.
What to know, son, Tony, I actually didn't feel any sympathy for those in charge. I didn't feel anything for those that are going to leave and those that are going to be replaced. I feel sorry for the guys and the lasses that I go to the football with, the folk I speak to on here, the folk that are in the chat room, the whole Celtic family. I hate that's kind of a cliched word now, but like I feel sorry for them. Because, once again, son, we put our faith in something that we can't control and hope it turns out all right. We put our faith in other folks' egos and decision-making. And this season, we've been completely sideswiped by absolute arrogance for the top doing at Celtic Football Club. Truthfully.
I've got a message for them, Kev, right? I've got a message for them. They might have donned a club blazer and a club tie this season, but they didn't represent Celtic. They might have donned a blazer and a club tie this season, but they didn't represent Celtic. They might have donned a blazer and a club tie, but I tell you what they did represent. They represented themselves. Yeah. See if they represented themselves, I conjecture that you're no fit for purpose. You shouldn't be on the Celtic board. You shouldn't be occupying a seat at that high esteemed table. There you go. And see if you cared passionately about your club, deeply and passionately. You would have intervened at some stage and you wouldn't have let this season unfold the way it did. Look across at Rangers, right? They might not be the greatest, but I tell you what they've got. They've got a boardroom and a management team and a set of players that are all buying into what they're selling, right? Yep. They're organised, they're well drilled, they're hungry, they desire, they're playing with a swagger and a confidence. Do you recognise that? Because it's a hallmark of the Celtic teams for the past 10 years. This season of all seasons, we needed leadership on and off the park. We get neither nor, right?
I mean, I think, like, truthfully, that those in charge of the club have got what they deserve this season because of their arrogance, and that was typified by Dubai. and those in charge of the club, they deserve all the ridicule, all the scorn, and all the criticism that's coming their way. The fans didn't. We bought into it. We've done absolutely nothing wrong. Russell, where are you going with us?
Well, I think it's important as well when you think about the connection thing as well, and I just feel that the Celtic board, when they had their moments of opportunity this season, we've covered all this, but it is so important to go back because we've flagged it all. The red flags, as Tony's talking about, were waved in November, October for some people, waved, and then it got big, and you were treated with disdain and an arrogant movement like going to Dubai. That's just one. That's going to come back now and look worse and worse all the time. I also happen to think, we look at the makeup of the squad yesterday now, whilst I do see a player in the likes of Laxalt, I think yesterday was a disgrace, by the way, it was terrible, fair enough, and he got hooked, rightfully so. But it's patchwork stuff that goes on with that Celtic team. And I'm a football fan, I'm not, the boardroom stuff, I think Tony's just, putting words that I'm not capable of. He describes it better than me, and I get all that. And I do understand where he's coming from. But see, when it comes to watching a football team and what's needed, I like to think, like every single football fan should, that my opinion's not too bad on it. And now to me, the warning signs were there last season. It comes to the summer, you need to get that team ready. And I'll tell you this, they'll probably put up as much as they faded at the end of the second half of last season. To me, the warning sign was at the cup final in December. Right, we all knew that's not the first thing.
There before, Russell, when they came to Parkhead and won 2-1.
Yep.
Right, warning sign there, that's a statement of intent, right? And then the cup final, as you say, started then, and then Ferencváros and all that. And those are the red flags that we, guys like yourself and myself, football people, were pointing out.
Yeah, but the point is though, Tony, the Ferencváros thing doesn't need to happen. The season finished in March. Yeah. This is what folk are forgetting. They had such a long period before the Champions League qualifiers this year to have a squad assembled, and that was right. And for me, that it does turn out with some of the targets we've spoke about, the Tony stuff, and I don't want to go over old ground, but it looks to me like we've chosen second best options at times, or not pushed the boat out. Now, if ever there was a season you just went, you know what, it's this season, because the 10-in-a-row campaign was the holy grail. And all this is done now is unfolded with players that I appreciate the fact Lennon wanted a Yeti apparently, but he didn't rate him. Klamala was forced on Rodgers, 3 managers that he didn't work under. Griffiths can't get fit under anyone. These are all issues. Edward wanted to go. Now, for me, it looks like the contradiction is, and I'm telling you, Edward wanted to go by what he did yesterday, tells me he doesn't want to be there. See, if we knew, and we all suspect that we did know that last summer he wanted to go, and we've kept him purely for the 10, then why wasn't that attitude replicated when it came to making signings? And why was it that we had to get loan buys in? Yet again, Laxalt arrived in October, 7 months after or 6 months after the season had finished. We bring in a big money loan signing at left back. It's patchwork nonsense. It's no forward planning. And we don't build from a position of strength. And we didn't do it after Seville, which I've spoken about before, and we're not doing it now. And there is common factors in that.
How can you be reactionary once again to a situation that's entirely of your own doing? The board and the players, Kevin, you said it there, 99 questions, or you said it, that's right. The board and the players and the management team are the only ones that can answer why this is the first barren season in 10 seasons. Only they have the answers to that, right? The club needs a massive overhaul, right? And it's one of the biggest overhauls in the club, right? You know what I mean? It's just like you need a board that needs to, and a management team, first team players that need to connect and reconnect with each other, as well as the supporters. We are totally and utterly disjointed at every level. Right?
I'm going to bring it back here. I think going for the 10 has made us small-minded, parochial, and arrogant, and it's a business decision. And it's a wholly business decision that our business plan was, our business model was just to keep our noses in front of Rangers, to keep the old firm alive. It's good for business. And it's clear it's a great business model for the Scottish game that the Old Firm is alive. And the Old Firm is alive. And didn't at me at the comments and that. If Celtic's business plan under Peter Wall was to keep the Old Firm alive because it's decent for business. Apart from the club putting out one piffy tweet saying, oh, we've been one club since blah, blah, blah. I can't remember what it is. So, I mean, everything that Peter Wall's done since 2012 has facilitated the Old Firm brand. And for me, I'm going to keep on calling it the Old Firm now until our board do something different to show us that it's no the Old Firm. It's a business decision solely by them that's blew the 10. For me, that is it. And until the club change their opinion, it's the Old Firm because they want it to be the Old Firm.
There will be books written about this in future. Somebody from this pod might even write it. The Men Who Sold the 10. Right, that you can. You
better copyright that, Tony.
This will be like theses in uni and all that, and dissertations from football punters. Right, the Men Who Sold the 10. They'll do it. Someone will do it. Right, I mean, might all do it collectively, but it's unfathomable, really. Right, the way it's worked out from a position of strength. Right, you can't, and you know what? See, the worst thing about losing to Rangers yesterday, right? The fact that it's most of the Celtic supporters aren't even angry now. They're apathetic. See, apathy, that's a pathetic state of affairs to be in.
Yeah.
Right? From everybody. Right?
Again, when I didn't want a chicken tikka hoagie, there's something wrong, man.
Right. You know, so how can a season that promised so much deliver hee-haw? Right? And that's it. I mean, even take that back to the fact that you didn't want your tikka. You were just like that.
That is apathy.
That is apathy. It's definite apathy.
I tell you what, the Celtic board, watch out. That's a dangerous thing to be amongst the Celtic supporters because they now need to produce. If this is the start of a new era and day one starts here, then they've got to, restore the club's success, the glory, their honour, their prestige, both on and off the field. So if Dominic Mackay is steering this ship, I'm imploring from this day forth, start acting like a big club. Pull in a DOF of repute, a manager of repute. That's how you get people back on side. That's how you get the apathetic Celtic supporters today who are like, oh, who cares? It doesn't matter now, You have to get them back on side by box office appointments in both the DOF position and the new manager. Because if you're going to try and attempt to sell John Kennedy's got promise, sorry, I said it yesterday, they'll shut 2 tiers of that stadium. If that's the case.
I think that's right. And I mean, I think it was alluded to on the pod last week that perhaps Peter Lawwell still got quite a big say in perhaps, the next manager sort of situation. I'm sure that's what he alluded to in one of the things he said to host, Big Paul. And that really, really troubles me right now, because if you're leaving, first and foremost, the new era should be dictated by the new man. The one positive sign, and always try to find the positive sign, is he's coming in early and the manager's still not appointed, which would like me to think that whoever that man is, he's going to have a far bigger say than perhaps what Mr. Lawwell wanted, which is an important move, because the flip side of all this is we all know what all the negative sides are here right now. And you're right, the boardroom, it's a disgrace, right? But we have got a new CEO coming in. I don't know where it's came from, but everyone seems to be assuming 100% that we're now going to work under a format of director of football with a first team coach, if you like. And that seems to be the way that everyone seems to think Celtic's going to set up. Again, I find that an encouraging move. That was already set in stone as well. And perhaps we are still now seeing the final flaws of why we're having to change the setup when it comes to the likes of yesterday. But see now how the Scottish Cup's gone. The time for waiting is over. The fact that Dominic Mackay starts today means it's now pedal to the metal time. And it is now whatever decisions that you were thinking about maybe waiting to the end of the season, or maybe aren't getting made to the end of the season, or maybe not coming into play at the end of the season, they need to be announced now. End of. Not tomorrow, now. And that means they need to work without sleeping for the next 24 hours. I don't care. It's time for us to, as you say, act like a big club again and put the foot down, because one of the things that there is an opportunity here to salvage it all. And that is the fact we are in the Champions League qualifiers this summer. And I appreciate that is a long way away. Right? Not a long way away, a short way away, I meant to say. I appreciate that timeline's getting shorter. But the fact is, the sooner you act, the bigger the chance you've got of not just going for a title with a £38 million jackpot next season, at the end of next season. Why not win that this season? Why not win that jackpot before a ball's kicked in the SPFL? And that happens if we get this connection that Tony's talking about back together. And that is going to start by getting your director of football announced this week, your manager announced this week, and making sure they are the best of the best that Celtic can attract.
On that note, I'm just surprised, Kevin, that Russell's no jumped on the Mourinho bus. You know what
I am. Jose.
And he's still on the Mourinho bus. You know what I mean?
That's who I'm alluding to, mate. He's the biggest name out there now.
You're alluding to right away.
Ask the question, mate.
That's
your hope. Ask the question. But I think the second that he's been sacked, he's packed his bags. Just phone him in, and if I've played down to how delaying in the decision last week. I said, look, neither Howe or the Celtic said anything on it, so it may well still be that it's coming to fruition. They just need to wait on Mackay being appointed. Fair enough. If the other narrative that gets spun is that he's dilly-dallying for overtures from Crystal Palace or Newcastle United, call his bluff. Phone Mourinho and ask him right now. And if Jose Mourinho says, I would like to talk to you, watch the other one flat. And that's acting like a big club to me, Tony, what you're talking about.
Correct. Yeah. Well, you're going to a big hitter, as Jim said on Friday's pod. That's a managerial big hitter. So I have no qualms with that.
I'm going to chuck in if I was a member of the board, and if any of the members of the board want to come on or comment in the comments, on these come. We'll be quite happy. We'll, as long as you're answering their questions and being open and honest with us, then we'll be quite happy with that. But see, I'm going to be devil advocate here. Right? No Dick Advocate, the devil advocate. Dick Advocate was probably the devil's advocate, actually. Right? So, when the club could rightly say this is one bad season in 11 years. The club could rightly come out and say, look, what we've been doing is right all the time. I'm going to ask you a question. This is, hang me. The last time we didn't win a trophy was 2009, 2010. What's the same this season? What was that season? What's the exact same?
We had an interim manager before the end of the season.
We did, but that's not what I was thinking about. But that's a good point.
2009, 2010, did you say?
Yes.
Yeah, Mosley season.
That would be Morgan's season, yeah.
Mm-hmm. What's the exact same for that season and this season? Right, D-Day's no very good viewing. We had yellow on the home kit. We had a yellow collar on the home kit.
Come on, behave yourself.
No, I'm not there. Look, see, when I saw that yellow collar at the start of the season, I crapped myself. Because that just reminds me of Tony Mowbray's season. That just reminds me that I do not understand why the Celtic tops ever got yellow on it. And the last kit we didn't win anything in had yellow on it. Last home kit. So there you go. It's all down to a kit. I blame Adidas. I really do blame Adidas. If we're going to fire wild shots at anybody, I blame Adidas.
That is wild.
That is wild, eh?
You've had a Ryan Christie-esque moment there, Kev, man. Come on.
Well, come on, it's a Monday. If I didn't have a nightmare.
Handsome.
I think I get what you mean, like the omen, it's an omen or whatever, but I think, deep down in your heart of hearts, that's not what you actually think is the reason why Celtic haven't done well this season. I think I'm just trying to be covered. We've probably overly covered all the downfalls. I do think as well that with the interim manager situation, I mean it's not easy for John Kennedy right now, especially when the fact is that he's obviously not going to be getting the job. These guys, if they already had one foot out, I appreciate they might buy in more of his training methods, But deep down, if you already had your eye on the door anyway, now it's a supply teacher in charge for the rest of the season. Did you stick in at your class at school when it was a supply teacher? No, you didn't. You might have done your homework because you couldn't be bored with it out. But it was like you didn't stick in. You know what I mean? And I just think that the next 4 games we've now got coming up, even though one of them's against them, are so dead rubber. It's unbelievable.
Of a dead rubber, completely and utterly.
I mean, it's quite
sad. Yeah.
This is actually meant to be where we come alive at this stage of the season. That's what we're known for the last 4 or 5 years. This is when Celtic turn it on, and I've been proud to watch that team when it's came to the crunch and the summers begin to start, and they go, "Is that right? Is there a test here?" Whether it's been Rangers falling away in the title race, or whether it's been cup semi-finals that have went to cup finals that have went to the last kick of the game. This team know they thrived on that pressure, and now I just think that there's going to be an overhaul of these players as it is anyway, and it's very much time that we bring in guys that are up for this big style, because it's a war we're in now to win that title back, and it can't be put down to now. We're Celtic. It's one bad season 11. We are now at war, and I'm wanting, as much as I want to see great football, I think I look at guys like, the one that gets me the most, right, that plays for them in the midfield, Scott Arfield. I would not have touched Scott Arfield, and I knew he was a Rangers man anyway, whatever. I suppose it's a compliment. I don't like it when he plays against us. He came up the English Premier League about 29-30 on a free, but obviously he's on big wages. I'm sure if he was an EPL player, I get that. But he doesn't come up with this promise of tomorrows. He is up there to give is every ounce of blood, sweat and tears for that team. And I think it does show in these games. I really do. I think it comes over.
McGregor shows in Stephen Davis as well.
Yeah,
right?
Totally.
McGregor is superhuman against Celtic.
Totally.
And that's why you see you invest in a good goalkeeper. And Steve Davis, 36-year-old, scored an overhead kick against you yesterday.
I know. But you know the thing is with those two players I think are top drawer anyway. I don't think Arfield really is top drawer. And please don't take that as insult anyone who's watching. I don't mean it like that. But I think he's at a team where he plays above his ability, and I respect that. Do you know what I mean? And that's because he's went there with a dream, and he's at the club of his dreams. And we don't have anyone at the club of their dreams right now. Not many anyway.
We're talking about a team of players that aren't getting it, right? We speak about this a lot, that people get it, right? Celtic team yesterday, disjointed, just full of individuals that don't get it. Or if they did get it, they've lost it. They're not wanting it anymore.
Yeah.
Right? As you say, there's a couple of heads away. Edward, Aya, possibly Christie, possibly even the likes of McGregor as well. And then guys coming to the end of their career like Scott Brown and stuff. You know who? It's just the end of an era, basically.
In the comments, we're actually getting told that Arfield was a Celtic fan growing up. So
no, I don't think that's true.
Well,
no,
JP Masons came on and says it, so you'll need to take it up with one of the
members
of the ACSOM team.
He's wrong.
We've started talking about the game. We'll get back onto the board at the end. We'll give them both barrels again at the end. I thought there was a massive overreaction yesterday to the performance and the outcome. Look, I was as disappointed as anybody at half time, because I was worried we were about to get choked out, that we were stuck, that somebody had stuck a tangerine in our mouth and we were in a Tory MP sex dungeon, and we were going to get completely choked out. And that never happened. I mean, they let us back in. And it doesn't matter if they've sat back or no. We still had big chances to take that game in the extra time, but we never took them. And I know that. Well, you're saying that, but you didn't ken that. But we can only comment on what we actually saw. And we had 4 or 5 big chances to at least take that game to extra time. Look,
I agree.
As the story of our season, we have got too many players that have checked out, too many that are not interested. We've got an interim in charge, and we're a disorganised mess. But if you look at that game solely yesterday, with no ifs or buts, we had enough chances to take that to extra time.
Yep.
Didn't get me wrong. Rangers are a far better side than us, both on and off the park. They're deservedly champions, and they're deservedly the next round of the cup. But We had that chances, and we had the chances in a one-off game, and we failed to take it. What I didn't like was the overreaction yesterday with folk going, like, that's our worst performance of the season. I noticed on a lot of the Celtic websites, that's our worst performance of the season. I can name many, many worse performances than that yesterday. I can name Ross County at home, St Johnstone at home, Sparta Prague twice, Hibs at Easter Road when we ended up drawing 2 each. Dundee United game when Aieti scored late doors. That was absolutely brutal. Kilmarnock at the start of the season was completely brutal. There was many, many worse games than that yesterday. And if you look at that game in individual, that wasn't our worst performance of the season. That was just a toothless performance this season, where everything was like, everything that sums up our season went wrong. Look, one good thing about yesterday, Fenis Varos as well. I'll chuck Fenis Varos in there as well. Absolutely woeful performances. One good thing about yesterday, at least we didn't have any of the Celtic websites and that going on about a beautiful Sunday. Anybody that uses that pish patter, man, go to your local Miners Benfield when it opens and do the slosh with some old wifeys, man. Absolutely atrocious patter. Yes.
We've played 4 derby games this season. We've scored 1 goal. We even played a game where we never had a shot at target against Rangers, right?
Oh, I didn't mention that in our worst games this season.
Absolutely lamentable, unacceptable for any Celtic team to score 1 goal in 4 derby matches against Rangers this season. I mean, they created chances yesterday, but it didn't take them. And I don't think for a minute that had Celtic scored to make it 2-1, that Rangers wouldn't have upped it. I mean, Celtic were beat from the moment they lost their first goal yesterday. They just didn't believe that they could win that game after they lost their first goal yesterday. And then the second goal just compounded everything, and they were just like, oh, well, they had to show something in the second half yesterday. But Rangers gave them the ball and said, come on, see if you can score. And guys just, But
Tony,
people telling me that El Yunusi's worth £5 million and he takes a touch like that.
Well,
why he's not worth £5 million.
We're going to go through the team, Tony, and I'm not going to look. You're saying, they allowed us the ball, but they also allowed us to create 4 or 5 great chances.
But we never took them.
And we never took them, but we didn't have the belief or the confidence to take them. Somebody's came in at the comments, and I'm not going to say his name. I'm not going to say the name because I can. It's what he wants me to say. I take it you never watched the first half, Kevin. I watched the first half, and we were absolutely ranked rotten in the first half, and I feared an utter bleaching in the second half. I did.
You did say that.
I feared an utter bleaching in the second half. It didn't happen. So that's what I'm actually saying. So we're going to go through the team, and we're going to play a wee game on this Monday afternoon. And we're going to have a look at that team yesterday, and we're going to actually play, what did I call it? Ghost, phone, or block. So I'm going to name a player, and we'll start with Scott Bain. So Scott Bain's one of the you've had a disco with Scott Bain for a wee while now, eh? So do you want to just keep him there in the background, saved on your phone? Do you want to block him completely, or do you want to just what did I actually say? I fucking forgot.
Ghost, phone, or block.
Aye, or right. Do you want to ghost Scott Bain, phone Scott Bain, or block Scott Bain? Ghost. Why? Because
I think he's the best of the bad bunch that we've got right now. I don't think he's Celtic first choice next season. Absolutely not. Do I think he's better than Hazard and Barkas? Yes. I think we're going to bring in 2 new keepers in the summer. I highly doubt we're capable of bringing in 2 quality keepers in the summer. That would be for each position. I just don't see that happening. I think I would ghost him for now. And if there is, this new, as I say, I want to be positive and look at, hopefully the new recruitment drive that we're on actually involves us going for our main targets and getting them. Then perhaps Scott Bain will need to leave, but I think I would ghost him for now.
Tony?
Can't disagree with any of that. I would ghost him as well.
Ghost. He's worth keeping as a squad player.
Yeah.
Let's go to the right back, John Joe Kenny.
I'll go. On you go, Tony.
Avoid. Was it Snog, Marry and Avoid? Was it?
No.
Ghost what? A block?
Ghost phone or block?
Ghost phone or block?
Block.
Completely blocked. I'm agreeing with the block. Russell?
I think till yesterday, I don't like judging people on one game. I think everyone would have said Ghost before yesterday. I think he would have got the Ghost sort of thing. Like, maybe if he is the available option, he'd be a decent job. Do I like judging someone on one game? No, but it was a big game.
Are you judging him on one game?
I'm going to walk him.
Are you judging him on one game? You're judging on the evidence you've seen so far, and yesterday
I would have ghosted him then. I would have ghosted him up till yesterday. And I think yesterday was a disaster. He proved when the heat was on, he's not going to do it. So I think it's a block. But I think if we did this game last Sunday, we played this game last Monday, sorry, I think the consensus would have been he'd have been on the Ghost sort of side of things. Like, maybe he's got potential to do it. I wouldn't rule him out completely. I think he's for the off skin now as well. When the heat was on, didn't happen. No way.
Right.
And I'll say the same about obviously where you're going to go next. I'll just get it in there now because I feel the exact same about Diego Laxalt, who I've tried to spin as much as I can and try to be as positive as possible about. Diego just got blocked off my Samsung yesterday, so he's a blocker now.
I take it you're not going to be playing Minecraft with him then anytime soon on Twitch, because you're the Twitch star seemingly. Tony Laxalt.
Oh, block.
These
guys shouldn't kick a ball for Celtic ever again.
Right, let's move into the centre of defence. Christopher Ajer, Tony.
You know my
No, that's why I went to you first.
Block. He can go. I'll drive him to wherever he wants to go. I know it's not a popular opinion, but I've given my reasons why. And yesterday, thankfully, a man who knows a wee bit more about football than me, Gordon Strachan, agreed with me that he was hopelessly out of position for the first goal because he passed your man on to Axel or John Joe Kenny. And I was like, yes, Gordon, thanks very much, because you're seeing what I'm seeing. A man that can't read situations in big, important matches for Celtic. He'll no do for me. I don't think he's got great heading ability anyway. Positional sense, totally and utterly suspect. Can stroll 70 yards with a ball, but still looks like Bambi on ice when he tries to pass it to somebody. Just cumbersome and might be a better bet in the midfield, but he's too tall not to dominate centre forwards or his direct opposition, and he doesn't do it enough for me. He doesn't frighten people. Every player that comes up against Chris Ajer, or every offensive player, loves coming up against him. So I'm probably in a minority, but I'd block Ajer and I'd take the money and run, see what we get from him.
Russell?
So I think we're all worrying about, players leaving and things. And for me, Ajer's had, obviously, we've discussed that he's had the most subject top matter of, if there's one we can't afford to lose, it probably comes to him. For me, if Ajer's the one we can't afford to lose, then I'm quite relaxed about the situation, because I think we could afford to lose him. I would very much I'm going to sit in the fence with Ajer. I'm going to ghost him.
You're going to ghost Ajer?
I think Ajer is someone that you show me the money, and now Laxalt can't be a part of that deal, so we need to get the fee raised. I know this is all, we've made up a transfer fee, by the way, with Laxalt included. I appreciate we've all just came up with numbers on that, but for me, if you're going to be looking at 10 million upwards for Chris Ajer, with what, 1 year left in his deal, is it? Or has he got more than that?
You have to take that, Russell. You have to take that, because he's doing his reputation more harm than good with every passing game. And if you can get upwards of 10 million, you've got to snap whoever's going to pay that, hand off for it, and then try and get $5 million players in.
I think that's fair, but if we're not going to get that, then I still could see him being one of the main parts of the first team going forward, because we can't replace 11 positions that are going to be in the first team. And he has got good experience in the area. Whilst he probably doesn't tick all the boxes Tony's looking for in a centre half, I certainly don't think he's been one of Celtic's worst players of the season either. So if the money's right, and don't get me wrong, I still think that fee is now going to be lesser than what we maybe anticipated maybe 12 months ago. Maybe not Tony, but I think a lot of people expected 15 million upwards. I think you're now looking at, for Ajer, We get 10 million upwards. We take it. If we don't, he stays in the team. So he's very much a ghost for me.
I think I would ghost him as well, and phone him in the summer and seeing if he wants a serious relationship with you. And if he doesn't, he's gone. He's then blocked. Yeah. That's for me.
A lot might depend on who the manager is.
That's what I'm saying. He has to have that conversation with the new manager coming in, and we need to see how.
Say as well about Ayer. I think we've seen players turn it around as well. Now, the biggest one that we'll all go back to was Scott Brown was finished until Rodgers took over. And when Rodgers gave him the belief at that chat or whatever they had, before Rodgers had even been announced as manager, Scott Brown transformed again, reinvented himself. I would like to see a manager instill some more fire in Ayer, and I think that could come with, if it was a captaincy debate, if you thought, give you the captain's armband, like something like that. I'm just using this as an example. I'm not saying I want Ayer as captain, but the reason I'm very much ghosting is because I think there is a chance that a good coach who makes him more responsible and gives him a more influential role at the club and makes him sign a new deal if he's staying, then you could see a different side. But yeah, I'm very much on the fence with that. My heart's not broken if he did leave.
We'll talk about the sub left back. It came on yesterday, Greg Taylor. For me, I'll go first here. Greg Taylor's a definite phone. I see Greg Taylor being our first choice left back next year.
There's a football player in Greg Taylor, Kevin. You and I know it from what you've seen of him. Stevie Clark get the best out of him. He just needs a manager, to coach him and play him in the right way and play him. No just stop and change, actually play him. What he lacks in height, he more than makes up for in aggression and, in other parts of his game. He's got decent distribution. He could maybe work on his final delivery into the box, but a good manager would say to him, there's 100 footballs, cross that into my head with your left foot till it becomes second nature, right? Again, that's something that Taylor would probably know, might be a weakness in his game, but certainly you've got a potent force down the left-hand side with Taylor occupying that wing-back role and supplying ammo to your forwards. And I like Taylor. I would persevere with Taylor. He's definitely one that I think with the right coaching and the right management and the right training or whatever, he would be one of your automatic first picks.
Gmail Chris on Periscope comes in and says, Greg Taylor is not Celtic class. Gmail Chris, can you actually message us and say, what is Celtic class? Russell, what do you think about Greg Taylor?
We're going to have a full house for this one. I think for me, Greg Taylor is a phone every day of the week. I actually happen to think, it might have been you, Tony, who said last week, I think he's a coach's dream. Yeah. I think he is someone that you go in and he is going to, exactly what you're getting, bang for buck, week on week wage that gets delivered into his pay packet. You have got exactly what you thought you'd get off Greg Taylor. And there's more to come. Yeah. Sometimes it can take a wee bit longer to settle in. Sometimes it can take not being in and out the team all the time. Sometimes it can take a manager who buys into him more than what perhaps belief he felt he was getting given off maybe Mr. Lennon, throughout this season. And that can drain. Confidence is so big in this game. It's so big. And you talk about Steve Clark. Steve Clark completely bought into Greg Taylor as the second best left back in the country. That is what he was described as at the time. Described as the second best left back in the country. And that's when the guy Barisic was at Rangers by then, I'm sure. So, for me, Taylor is someone that is not going to be huge in the wage book right now. He's someone who's never really let us down. He's someone that I think has more to give, but someone who will give it all to achieve that. And we are going to need, like I say, we're at war. We are going to need as many guys that are willing to go and give 110% in the pissing down rain on a Tuesday afternoon at training. These are the guys we're going to need, because the likes of Brown, etc., leaving. I think Greg Taylor can become. I think he can grow into his role as well. Like I was saying about the Ayer thing, I think he could become someone who the players kind of look to and go, "You've been here a couple of years," and he'll set examples. I know he's young, but I still think he could be setting examples in the training ground as what it means to be at Celtic. And just because he'll be there he's there with such gratitude as well. He's at a huge club, and I've said before, we needed more players in our squad who are at the biggest club they probably will play for.
which is why the new manager coming in is important, because he can make, that's what management is, making good players better.
Yep.
And a good manager could make Greg Taylor a better player. Now,
Yep.
I did, as a journalist, used to do a lot of man by mans. Somebody like Greg Taylor, I would start with Greg Taylor 7, and it'd be a sliding scale. That's what you get from Greg Taylor. He's a steady, solid 7 out of 10 player every week, with the occasional 8, because he does something, maybe sets up that kind of stuff, right? So, yeah.
Can I say something which could be outlandish, even though I've said a lot of things outlandish in my time here? I see captain material in Greg Taylor.
That's outlandish, as you said, but again, that's up to any new man coming in to see.
He was Kilmarnock's captain under Steve Clarke, was he not?
Yeah, listen, the different managers see different things, and different people see different things, which is why we're all on this. So, that's
what did I just say about him in training?
You think
he can become an example in training, and I suppose that does then tie in with what you're saying, Kev. I would have thought he could become a more influential person in the dressing room. Wouldn't necessarily say captain, but it's still feeding in the same. Obviously, you still do see the same sort of characteristics that I kind of do as well, to be honest.
Like what I said about Welsh yesterday, I would let him focus on his game first before maybe putting any extra burden and responsibility as a Celtic captain on his shoulders. But just let him get that improvement that we think he's capable of, and become a Celtic regular and an automatic first team pick, and then we'll work on the rest.
Gmail Chris comes back and he says Greg Taylor doesn't stop cross balls, and how many goals have Celtic lost because crosses were not stopped? I think that's more a system issue with the way that the team's been set up. They've been massively exposed at times this season.
Just show me a fullback who doesn't let cross balls come in every now and then. Of course they do. The fact of the matter is, the issue with Celtic has been is we cannot defend cross balls, and the numbers don't lie there. We cannot, you can't physically stop. Crosses are going to happen every single game of football you ever watch in your life. So you can't say every fullback's terrible because they've let cross balls come in. I think the fact of the matter is, when it comes to crosses, it becomes very noticeable with Celtic, because we can't defend them.
I love it when Tony.
We've got a Harlem Globetrotter at the back. He's about 8 foot, but he can't jump. He can't head it. Higher, towering header. Higher, there's Paul John Dykes many times. Never seen that towering header in my puff, because you couldn't get Rizzler paper underneath him when he jumps. So, you know what I mean?
I love it when Tony swings back in his chair and comes in. You can, he's coming in for the money shot. Welsh, we may as well speak about Welsh. Welsh for me is definitely a phone. He's signed a 4-year contract. That's I think that goes. I think that goes without saying. We move into the midfield. Callum McGregor, Russell.
Ooh, I'm ghosting him now, mate.
Ooh,
I'm ghosting Callum. I think he's had a shocker of a season. I think, for all we talk, and so much focus gets made on Brown's legs going and all this nonsense every time he doesn't play well. See, if that is the case, then the onus is on him. He is the man who's been there longer than most. He has been part of all the good times. Let's see how you do in the bad times, son. He's not stood up for me. Yeah, I think he's been disappointing. I think he's not played shockers, right? So I don't want to hammer him that way. But for me, he's not stepped up enough. When the chips have been down, I'm ghosting Callum McGregor now and hoping that rosier times are ahead, and maybe he gets a manager that he believes in, and maybe he didn't like the Stuart step. But the fact is, he had all the ability in the world that we were getting told about, and he's been there long enough, so he has to become a bigger character. I think he's been. I'm ghosting Callum for now, and if that big money bid comes for Leicester, again, I think it's very much in the ire train. You're going, that might just need to be necessary for the rebuild that's required.
I don't think you can have a pop at Callum McGregor in terms of ability. I think this is a player that's burnt out. I mentioned yesterday, he's played an incredible amount of football in the last 4 or 5 years, and I mean non-stop, right? There comes a burnout point or a burnout issue. Celtic probably could have managed it a bit better with Callum McGregor, because you just don't become a bad footballer. And Callum McGregor, you mentioned it, probably went to push his pedal to the metal, and it wasn't there this season, and it's all conspired in this season of all seasons. You know what I mean? And he's just like, he's done. And he's maybe looked around at times when, for help, but people were looking to him and he wasn't producing, and he might well get that manager that you speak of, because Leicester might well test the water with a bid for Callum McGregor, and it's up to Celtic to say, do we take it or do we not? It's a real hard one. It's a real Callum McGregor dilemma, because I would have Callum McGregor of 3 or 4 years ago in my team any day of the week, because the one thing he did do, he learned. He missed that sitter in Germany, and every other goal he scored after that, he passed the ball into the net. He took it with the utmost of ease, stroked him in against Rangers, stroked him in the cup final, just learned that he would never hammer a shot from close range again. He went for power instead of accuracy. And every other goal he scored, he's been accurate. And he adds a lot and he gives you a lot. He's up and down, I genuinely think that guy is knackered, right? And it's come at a time when we look to him and people were talking about him being captain material. And it's no slight in Callum McGregor. He just maybe hold his hands up and say, yes, I've underperformed. But he underperformed in a team that was underperforming. He wasn't alone in that. And that's where your dilemma rests with Callum McGregor. Do you keep him? I think, yeah, because I think another manager could help him reinvent himself again, very much like you said with Scott Brown. I think there's a reinvention in Callum McGregor under the right management team. But if you get a bid of between 10 and 12 million, then you have to seriously consider it. And the boy might want a fresh challenge, because he's did everything in Scotland. He's did everything he's possibly capable of doing in this country.
The 10's gone.
So he might want a crack at maybe playing in the English Premier League and reuniting with Brendan Rodgers, if that is the case. So he's got a big decision. Celtic have got a big decision as well. But I would never have a bad word to say about Callum McGregor. He's been absolutely outstanding for Celtic. It just the season let us down, because in a season we're quite well. Most of the players have let you down.
I think he's a phone call. I do think he's a phone call, and it's one of the first phone calls that the new manager makes, hopefully this week. So we move on. Who else in that midfield? Scott Brown, block, sheep. No, just block him. I mean, at least he's getting used to what it's going to be like when he plays for Aberdeen, playing for us this season. Winning hee-haw and getting overrun by Rangers. Turnbull.
Captain. El Capitano.
Aye.
I
like that. I like that.
Eyebrows were red when Mowbray made Scott Brown the Capitano.
Of course.
But Turnbull's a baller. Turnbull's a player.
Yeah.
Turnbull's the future. And if that's the future of your club, and you know how highly Laura B rates him, she's got him in the Paul McStay bracket. Well, if that's then go and give him the captain's armband and say, be a Paul McStay figure. On you go. Shows what you've got. And I think the would get the absolute best out of David Turnbull. The boy's a baller. From what little you've seen of them this season, you know that. Yeah, okay. People never turned up yesterday, right? I'm giving Turnbull time to develop as a Celtic player. Next season's the season I want to see Turnbull be the best footballer in the league, because that's in his locker.
Yeah, I agree with that wholeheartedly. And I actually think as well, David Turnbull took responsibility a lot this year when others didn't.
Yeah.
I think he's definitely got the attributes to become a captain. I do. The phone for me, Kevty.
He's not a phone. He's a run round the house and just say, "You're going nowhere, man."
I think by the sounds that we're trying to marry him after the first date. We've got the ring. We've got the ring and anything before he's eating his Happy Meal. Who else? Ryan Christie. Russell.
Block. Not for me, mate. I know his numbers are all right, and I feel a wee bit bad saying it at times, but no, I think he's very much in the head elsewhere camp. I think he has an ego. I don't mind players having an ego, but I think he let his ego leave the building too early. The whole point of having an ego is you let it do the talking on the pitch as well. That's, you strut the stuff. I think there's been so many times of individualistic mindset as opposed to a Celtic mindset. I 100% think that the folk and the contributors that I've heard referring to his goal celebration the past week or the past couple of weeks when we've been talking about every reaction to a goal tells me his head is gone. It's a block. I'm happy for him to go. I'm happy for him to get found out wherever it is he goes as well, especially by I think the list of clubs that are interested. I think he might be in for a rude awakening. I think it's great for agents to fill your head with nonsense. I think when it's Trabzonspor or something like that, he ends up at the Turkish league. Then he'd be surprised. Or it'll be the Championship. Not a Premier League player for me.
I made the quip earlier this season that David Turnbull was the player Ryan Christie thinks he is. I stand by that statement.
Yeah, very good.
I feel sad because I really do think there's a player in Ryan Christie. But Ryan Christie's head got sweetened very early on in his Celtic career when people were touting him for this move to a top 5 English Premier League team. Do you know what you do? See if you're being touted for that, you go and earn it.
Yeah.
Go and earn it. And see, for someone who is a professional footballer, why is your shooting so bad? Why is it so wayward and so awkward? You clearly don't practice it enough for it to become second nature. But, you know, Celtic supporters, you're just asking their players to give their all. How can somebody repeatedly not hit the target from...
It's frightening.
And it's frightening ratio. And to be so wayward and to be so inaccurate that you think to yourself, well, do you know what? See if that's me. I go back to it. You're a Celtic player on and off the park. You improve your deficiencies in your game. And if somebody came up to me and said, Ryan, your shooting's a bit wayward, I would get 100 footballs, 200 footballs, whatever it is, and I would ping them into that goal from all sorts of angles till I at least got them on target or they went in the net, make the goalkeeper work. You know, because there's a footballer in Ryan Christie, and it pains me to say it. But again, what's happened, that this whole laissez-faire attitude of this season has afflicted so many players where their heads have been sweetened, their heads have been elsewhere, whether it's agents turning their heads or whatever. You have to earn the right to a big move. And by earning the right to a big move, that means playing well for Celtic. No downing tools at some point and thinking someone else will bail me at a hole, or I'll get a move anyway. I'm at the door. I'm running the clock down in my contract. Go and earn that. The least that the supporters deserve is you to give 100% every time you pull on that jersey. And see if that's the case and you do that, you go with the supporters' blessing. Ryan Christie was a fabulous player when he broke into the Celtic team, and he couldn't do any wrong, and everybody loved him, and he was hungry. I don't know what happened, but somewhere along the line, he lost his appetite. He just thought he was better than he was, or people were telling him he was better than he was. And it's sad that happens to players, because there's a footballer in Ryan Christie. I won't say particularly bad things about him, but he's just not shown it. And he's not shown it enough. And he's not shown that he's wanted it enough for Celtic, that is. And he might get that move, but he might find that the grass isn't greener elsewhere.
Russell?
Couldn't agree more, so he's definitely a block for me.
Block. I'm going to ghost him. The reason being, I want to find out where his head's going to be in the summer. For exactly the reasons that Tony has actually says, I don't think the move that he thinks he's going to get is going to materialise.
That's what I said.
And I think you might get, but once again, he's last year his contract. But again, I would ghost him at this precise moment in time, because Tony says there's a player in there, and I don't think the move that he thinks he's going to get could materialise. And that's the only reason I would keep him. And we can't discard everybody, because that's not the way it's going to work. That's not the way it's going to work. We'll go for the front two. Eddie?
Block.
You have to block Eddie. I think Eddie's been out the door since Rodgers left.
Yeah. It's been discussed at length. I don't think there's any reasons to add to it, to be honest to you.
Just take the money and run for Eddie. Do
you know what? The one thing I will say is he's left a bad taste in the mouth, Eddie has, to me.
You'll get over that. You will get over that.
That's fair enough. That's fair enough. Maybe you will, maybe you won't. But maybe I'm wrong, but I mean, I just think the way I've looked at it, Matt, and
He's given us
tells me he's stopped caring as much this year. He's really not. He's not gave his all for Celtic this year. He's had no remote connection with the fact it's the 10 in a row year like the fans have. He's not even allowed himself to try and, feel that sort of heat, feel the passion for that at all. I think this season, I mean, I know he's top scorer or whatever still somehow, but I think he's been a real letdown for all the ability he's got. He's disappointed me big time. I'll say it, I think he's left a bad taste in the mouth for me.
He played for himself this season, no one else. He played for the Odds Edward brand. Didn't care if Celtic won 10 in a row. He was playing for himself and supposedly playing for a big money move. Now, I said yesterday on the pod, Kevin burst laughing, that we might end up losing money on Edward. I wouldn't rule it out because who's going to buy him? And they're not going to buy him for the astronomical figures that we wanted. They try and create this kind of Leicester Arsenal kind of bidding war. Yeah. Bidding war. But I don't know.
£30 million seems a long time ago.
Yeah, and we just I get back to it. He went out the door the minute Rodgers left, and the minute we lost that professionalism and everything, structure, coaching, the club, a lot of players just sort of regressed. It's no coincidence, is it? Everything was spot on when Rodgers was there. The bar was there. It was so high, standards, everything, and it was just allowed to drop dramatically.
There's actually quite a few comments going in liking him to Mark Viduka, which is very, very, it's very, very, very similar. I'm going to put it another way. He is a block, but I reckon Eddie blocked us as soon as I think he blocked us. I think it was the other way about. We didn't need to block him. He's not returning our phone calls anymore anyway. Last but not least, Moy. For me, he's a phone.
Yes, I'm going to agree with you.
For me, he's a phone, and I can see Tony. He's doing the swinging back. Love it, man.
I know, but in trouble now. No, I'm gonna dig Moy out on this one as well. I'm gonna phone him back. I think he works hard for the team. I do agree. I mean, I thought his heavy touch was so costly for that goal, and he's got usually a wee bit of coolness in the veins in those situations. I think he is a player that is capable in a good team of scoring over 20 goals. I think he knows the league now inside out. I think you made a good point, Kev. We can't let everyone go. I think he is affordable. I know it's a lot of money. It seems a lot of money, but it's buttons, really, in the current climate. The realisation of how bad we've done in the Champions League is coming home to roost. That a $5 million player in 2021 for Celtic is a lot of money. That is pathetic. That is the development player that Ajax spend on, or clubs of that sort of ilk. £5 million, and we're flapping about it. And that is because we've lost so much in Champions League money. If we'd even remotely acted a big club, as Tony says, that is honestly $5 million in 2021. That is League One money for Will Grigg. Do you know what I mean? And we're panicking about a guy that we know he can score the goals. The sad thing is, obviously, to flip it is that $5 million may well be a big part of the supposed transfer kitty, and you need to weigh that up. But I would take him. I'll be honest, I would phone him.
No, not for me. You know why?
Tony's a blocker. I would phone him.
I'd phone him. Listen, I agree with you. I think there's a player in there and he scored a couple of decent goals in Europe and stuff, but he's just not consistent enough for me. You want more. You want a prolific scorer against Rangers. No Livingston or Hibs or whatever. You want someone who step up to the plate, somebody that gets it. A Dembele. If you're going to ruin £5 million on somebody, you want a Dembele type forward. Someone that gets it and steps up to the plate every important game and scores you goals. No an inconsistent guy that turns up every 1 in 3 or whatever, or a Gary Gillespie 1 in 9 out. You know what I mean? That kind of.
Do you feel though, Tony? Do you feel it, Moy? And I appreciate your criticism of him, right? But do you feel he's been playing a regular position even over the whole 2 years at Celtic? He has been rotated in various positions as well.
I get that argument as well, right? But a good player's a good player, right? They turn up, right? They turn up. They turn up more often than not. Can he say he's turned up more often than not? If you're going to compare him and say he's been one of the better players this season, it's no a gauge, is it?
It's no a gauge, no. It's a low watermark.
He's rather been garbage, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm not having we're going to, fritter £5 million in this guy because it is a big chunk of your budget. If you're going to get £5 million, I want the finished article, right? You get Dembele for 500 grand. See, if you're a big club, you spot the next Dembele. You could have had Ivan Toney for £5 million. Don't want to get involved in that again, but you could have, right? So that's the difference. People telling me, I get that there's a player somewhere in the darkest recesses trying to get out, but I think it's another huge gamble. I want somebody that will hit the ground running and just give me 30 goals. Yeah. I know, he's got 17. Right, fair enough, right? And he has been rotated, and I get that. But see, after 2 years, he should be getting it. He should be understanding. He should be on it. He should be rising to the plate every time he takes to the field. So
just to be clear, are you an outright block, or would you ghost him?
No, I'm a block. Because £5 million could be better spent.
But if you can't spend it better and you've ghosted him, then you can get that.
In case if you can't, you have to spend it better. You do your homework. If your new management team is doing their homework and their due diligence, they'll be able to say, we can spend £5 million better because they know more about football than me. And there's better players in El Unici out there, better goal scorers in El Unici out there that you can get for £5 million. I don't pay you any money, right? Off the top of my head, I can't name them because I usually just watch Celtic. But you know what I mean? But if someone said to me, watch, I said before, study this league or study this amount of teams, I would bring you a list of 5 to 10 strikers that you can, that can put the ball in the net better than El Unici and more consistently and play and be a better footballer than El Unici. That's my opinion. It doesn't make it real. You guys have said yours, so that's how I feel about it.
I'm going to go back into the comments here. Jim Hanaway, that's what I says, Kev. I've just noticed your comment, Jim, the way you're saying that Edouard's blocked us. So we'll both take it together. So I've just actually seen it pop up there and the other man's popped up. So sorry, I wasn't stealing your patter, mate. I have occasionally stole patter, but I never stole that, honestly. Sorry about that. Last two, this game sounded far better in my head, but it gave us 30 minutes. Ayeti. Tony.
Block. A waste of £5 million. I can't. A non-scoring centre forward. I keep going back to it. It's a kind of a foreign Jim Melrose. You know what I mean? for those that are holding it.
Russell hasn't got a clue who Jim Melrose is.
Gave the Celtic supporters the V sign one day at Tannadice after scoring because the Celtic supporters got on his case for not scoring, but scored a goal in a 2-1 defeat and decided, I think I'll give them the Vicky. So and promptly left the club not long after.
I think he's a block. I think he's a block for me as well, Kev. For whatever reason, I mean, everyone was wanting to, maybe blame Lennon's usage of Ayeti or that. It's quite obvious John Kennedy, who has different sort of perspective as a coach as well, completely doesn't trust him or rate him in the slightest either. Isn't convinced by what he's seeing in training, his impacts in games, even when he's getting 20, 30 minutes. I think he's came with a pedigree enough that he should be able to make more of a contribution, whether it's 20, 30 minutes than he has. Has he dedicated himself to Celtic? I appreciate, though, there was the other narrative a couple of months ago that he's been living in a hotel and things. He's maybe not properly settled because of the COVID era and that. That's not our problem, unfortunately. That's just life. This season we've all had to deal with it. Every team's had to deal with it. I'm sure there's lots of players and a lot of clubs that have had guys coming as foreign imports that have had to, live maybe not as they would have in normal times. For me, Ayeti started with a bang and has finished, with a flicker. It's just been, he's a block. He's got to be a block. And if we can get £3-4 million for him, back to Switzerland or something like that, maybe Basel will take a ball, whatever you want to call it, will want to bring him home because he's still only 24. If you could even get, 2/3 of your money back, I think we need to look at doing that, to be honest.
Going to do last two. Ayeti for me is a ghost. Just the reason because we've got a new manager coming in.
Okay.
And I say that we can't get rid of absolutely everybody. we've got to hold on to the belief that some of the duds will turn out to be will blossom into nice, beautiful swans. Lee Griffiths.
Do you know what? I'm with King Jim on this. I'm a fan of Lee Griffiths. I just think that he's a natural goal scorer, but the penny just no dropping with him. I still think, he's a natural goal scorer, and all he wants to do is put the ball in the net whenever he plays. I'd actually keep him. I know you might find that surprising, but I would keep him because I just think he still has something to offer. I would give him, under a new manager this season, to ship up or shape out. I just feel that, he let you down this season, but there's a goal scorer there and a prolific one as well.
No, I hear you, Tony. I mean, we were talking about it the other week after one of the games. Remember, I says, you're looking at 4 strikers there. Eddie, we've already decided his head's gone. He's already halfway out. Klimala looks like he's all but sealed his move to the MLS. Ayeti, we're all saying block, apart from Kev, but you can tell that Kev's kind of, expecting him to leave, I think, to say the least. And then you've got Griffiths. Can you really lose all 4 in a summer and not have one recognised striker and start them all over again? I describe Griffiths as a man with 9 lives. I was corrected in the comments by many as he's got more lives than that. Fair enough. But for whatever reason, I think it is this summer going to have to be. And I think he's fortunate. But I think you extend him another life, and you give him that extension on the contract. You pay him another year's wages, and you use him as someone who can try and inspire him over the summer, try and get him fit for the get-go, and then I think he can become a figurehead for whatever strikers are coming in, because his finishing ability, regardless of what anyone says, is second to none.
He's better in a 2. I would play Griff with somebody, right, and go back, revert to your 4-4-2, because he's much better in a 2. Celtic don't function with one up front, right? So if you get Griff and someone else, whoever that may be, then I'll be perfectly happy with that, because he will still plunder goals. And the thing is about Griff is he just wants to play. So he spits a dummy when he's not playing.
Yeah.
And he cannot go over the fact that he's not playing, because all he does is bring you goals when he does play. You know, there is a thing in his head that if he's not playing, he just he's upset at that, and he can't let that go.
He has to mature with that though, Tony, because now squad management is what all managers will tell you about, and that you're not going to at 30-31 be playing every single game. Do you know what? But if he can play ball, and get his, I like the way you describe that, because at the end of the day, I don't want a striker who's happy not playing every game. I want them to be cheesed off, but you need to channel it right, and that's by going in on the Monday, prove them wrong. Right. Prove them wrong to take out that team, make you indispensable, and end up like Kalmack and getting burnt out after a couple of years because you can't be taking out the team.
I think he in a 2 he would be indispensable.
Yeah. I like the idea of him in a 2. I always have.
Nickel Lyon It's a phone.
He's a phone. I'm phoning him.
You're a phone. Oh, right. Nicole Lyon says, I worked in Bal for 18 months and saw Ayeti at his best. He was the talk of the country, dynamic and deadly. There's quality in there. We've got to play to his strength at times. And again, as I say, he's a ghost for me because we've spent quite a bit of money on him and I want to see him under a new manager. Griffiths is also a ghost for me. Again, I think he likes the Tinder game, but he wants to maybe get back with his ex doing in Leaf. But I think I think he actually quite fancies another shot with us, another season with us, definitely. Sorrow.
Oh,
phone. I don't think anybody's going to argue about that. And last but no least, Barkas.
Block.
It's
gone, mate. It's gone. This guy.
Maybe if he would have blocked a couple of things this season, we would be having a different
I'd like to
conversation.
see him make a block. I know, but yeah, it's a shame. But I called it months ago. I says he'll not be there. He'll not see past the summer. I think the ship is very much sailed. I don't know who's made that signing. I don't know where it's came from. Apparently, we'd scouted him for years, which means it wasn't a Neil Lennon, sort of signing either. For me, it should have been David Marshall last summer. I've said that, and I know people ridicule that, but for me, I think he would have been an absolute stick-on to have signed in a free transfer instead, especially if you're going to let Craig Gordon go. I suppose with hindsight, you would just have kept Craig Gordon if you don't like the Marshall idea. But Marshall's obviously a few years younger. But signing Barkas at £5 million, you'll go back to Greece for £2.5 million guaranteed. That's done.
It's a shame. I mean, it has to be a block, but it's just that boy's confidence is shattered. It's shot, right? And even if he did stay, Celtic supporters would just,
the mind's made up, Tony.
They would just be like, no chance, So I think for himself and to resurrect his own career and just get some confidence back, then he'd probably be better served going elsewhere. It's been a gamble that's not paid off.
And you know something? You're so right about next season. So I just like to touch on that when you said that there, because one goal that we think he could have had a sniff at, he is going to get panned. It's just going to go round in circles. It'll never get the benefit of the doubt now because of this season, right? And like I've said on this a million times, I don't think there's any glaring howlers he's made, really. There's maybe the one goal in Europe when, to be honest, El Hamid didn't do his job properly, but he probably still should have saved it. But other than that, there aren't all been chances that any goalkeeper always saves. It's just the fact he's not saved one of them. That's the problem.
That's exactly. I was just about to say that. The fact that he's not looked like a goalkeeper at all, because he's been nowhere near anything. Hasn't he looked like saving anything? Not just that. There is not one attribute where you think his handling's great. He comes out for a cross ball.
Yeah.
His handling's good. He reads a game. He can come out. There's not one attribute where you turn and said, Barkas is good at that. He's just the whole time he's been there, he's not instilled confidence in the fans, the players, anybody. No. And as you said, a basic thing for a goalkeeper is to be able to save the ball. He's not even done that. So he has to go for that reason.
And come next season, like I say, it's only going to destroy him further, because for me, there is going to be times we concede goals. We all know that. And he is going to carry on being the fall guy. He would need to put a season together of Alan McGregor. I'm going to say Alan McGregor proportions to try and get himself on an even keel for the following season with the fans, where he gets the benefit of the doubt for a mistake. That is not going to happen.
You don't even have to say those words. Alan McGregor's a fantastic goalkeeper.
Totally.
You cannot get away from that fact. He's a fantastic goalkeeper. So, I mean, people say that's what he's paid to do, but he doesn't. Arguably, I mean, he's arguably up there with the best goalkeepers in Britain.
Yeah, he is.
At the moment in time.
He's a game changer for me as well. I think he's a big reason why.
A big reason why Rangers brought him back, because they know he can get the ball out the sticks. You know what I mean? So he is. I mean, he's arguably Scotland's Player of the Year this season.
I think he is.
If you're going to say that, and when you look at the kind of Foster deal that slipped through your fingers, he was that man for Celtic. He won them a cup final on the basis of terrifying the opposition, and they just couldn't get by him, and there was that mental block. McGregor's a bit like that with Celtic just now.
I agree.
Mental block and a bit of the Andy Gorham scenario, where just perform out their skin, turn up in the big games. That's what you want from your players.
I agree.
Aye, well, we can't leave the day with us praising Alan McGregor. So we can't leave the day. That's the last you're ever going. That's the last that you're ever going to see a ghost phone or block, because that did really sound better in my head. What by the end of the week? What do you want Don Mackay to have done?
Announced
has to have a new manager.
Announce a new manager.
Yeah, has to be announced. I don't care if he starts this season or not. They're dead rubbers anyway now. We're not going to. But if he is announced, it's the boost that his club needs.
Tomorrow, I'd announce it tomorrow, not even at the end of the week, just to show that we've got a plan in place and there's some structure there, and we have a roadmap set out to where we're going, where we think we're going, and where we're headed. You know, I would do it tomorrow, and can also would well if it's a big hitter like Eddie Howe, then it would buy Dominic Mackay time.
100%.
I don't want Dominic Mackay to, after Friday, start to get Twitter abuse. You know, get your finger.
What's going on?
What's going on? You know, for Dominic Mackay, I want him to hit the ground running. But I mean, and if he's sensible, I'm sure he's a sensible guy. Just ingratiate yourself to your supporters, you know, and do the right thing, get it done, announce, and be proud to announce it. Make that your thing. Make that your job this week. I would do it tomorrow, but at the end of the week, I'm still hopeful for, you know, but just make that your remit this week. Tell the people what they want to know. Tell the supporters who the new manager's going to be, where you see in your first address being, ladies and gentlemen, your new Celtic manager is Mr. A Big Hitter, you know. And I think that's the one thing that would give everybody hope moving forward. The longer it drags on, as Russell says, this countdown clock, Richard, you start to think, do we know where we're going? Are we on the road to nowhere? To use singing analogies and song analogies, you know? You know, but that's what I mean. If this goes 2 or 3 weeks and Dominic Mackay hasn't spoken, he will come under all sorts of criticism and come under fire, and I don't want that from him. No. As I say, from today, Celtic act like a big club.
Well, we're now at nearly 2 o'clock on the Monday after our season ended, and there's been no comment for the club whatsoever. So we can only hope it's going to happen sometime this week. Anthony Haggerty, Russell boys, thanks very much. I thoroughly enjoyed this Monday.
Pleasure. For
all you that have tuned in, thanks. Like, subscribe, tell your pals, even tell folk that you didn't like to get onto ACSOM. Subscribe down below, and we'll see you all later. Hail, hail.